Ladies and gentlemen, viewers and listeners, welcome into Tuesday Track Talk, episode 19, featuring your Three Stones pit crew. My name is Kellen. I'm your Jackman.
I'm Cam. I'm your tire changer.
I'm also Cam. I am the gas man.
And we got quite the episode today. We got a few race recaps we're going to touch on. Lucas Oil, Dirt Super Late Models, the Rolex 24, and then we'll kind of dig into NASCAR Report Cards. So kind of looking at what the crew expects from different drivers or organizations within NASCAR in 2024. So we'll kind of give you what we expect, what we think can transpire. Some may be optimistic, some not so much. Um, but again, lots of interesting ideas that you're going to get brought to you bright and early before we get into the clash here this weekend. So just real quick before we get into it, fellas, it's been another week. What do we know?
I unfortunately was not able to stay up for the whole 24 hours of the Rolex 24 because I had to travel today and I had to be at the airport by 6 o'clock. So that would have really messed up the sleep schedule.
This is true.
One of these years, I'm going to pull that off.
Um, yeah, I know a lot of good racing. Um, yeah, feels like we're getting back into the swing of things. So excited and got to ride my motorcycle here in the winter of Wisconsin. You guys were ripping on my hairdo beforehand, so it's all right. There's meaning
let's
and
say,
purpose. There's meaning and purpose behind it.
let's say it's feeling pretty warm, so it's
Define it.
odd.
There's meaning and purpose behind it. You shall see.
Oh
Anyways,
God.
carry on.
So no, it got a little bit of a warm spell, so it's finally warmed up a little bit up here in the Great North.
Which
So
is
can't complain about
odd for
that.
January.
Yeah, so we can't complain about that too much. So well, we might as well go ahead and get right into this thing, huh?
Yeah.
So kind of I think the first races recap that we can go ahead and dive into. Lucas Oil, Dirt Supers, obviously put on a hell of a show again. A little bit of turmoil across the nights, but I guess kind of kick it to you guys. What are your initial reactions as to the week with the Lucas Oil boys?
I'll go first. Just to start, good Lord, it's awesome to be back. Um, yeah, awesome racing all weekend, and Thursday night was fantastic. Friday got rained out, was it? And then
Yep.
uh, Thursday night track was, you could argue, I know it was only night one race of the year. That was just awesome racing. JD, Huddy O'Neill, Brandon Overton, just all under a blanket. So that was awesome. And then um, Saturday night was, yeah, uh, we'll probably throw it around and discuss a little bit. Track wasn't quite as racy, pretty rubbered up, a lot of one lane around the bottom. Guys were trying everything they could, but nonetheless, we're the first weekend into the series and we got awesome racing and storyline. So it was just awesome to be back, and we'll talk about it in our race previews. I'm fired up for what's to come.
Hudson O'Neill pretty much pick it up where he left off last year with winning the championship and winning the first night out with the Lucas Oil. You got possibly a committed JD as well. Again, kind of strutting his stuff. That's still kind of up in the air. And you saw your regular guys up there like Brand Shepard and RTJ up there too. Brandon Overton kind of making an appearance as well. So the guys that were running good last year are still running good this year, and I think you kind of saw that carry over to World Outlaws as well. I was surprised that oh god damn it, now his name is slipping my mind. Smooth operator, god damn it.
Pierce.
Pierce, Bobby Pierce. Wasn't there, but he was running down in Australia, running some late miles that down there, but he was picking up his ways and he won down there as well. So
Yeah, he was I think they call them super cars or something. It looks like a
Yeah,
modified, but they're a little bit
it
smaller.
almost looks like a souped up street stock.
Yeah, with
Yep.
a big motor and big tires.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So, no, I mean, night one, I think obviously was the night of the weekend as far as racing product goes. Like you were saying, it's a very early contender for race of the year. The guys are going back and forth, throw them under a blanket. Hudson Neal doing Hudson O'Neal things and ripping the top again. So, so no, that led all but one lap, and even then, that was just him and JD pretty much swapping sliders there for a little while. So. No, that was Thursday was a damn good race. Good way to
Yeah.
open the Lucas Oil season up.
Yeah. So obviously Thursday, super good race. Hudson, JD, Brandon Overton, RTJ, and B Shep round out your top five. So stellar top five when you look at the finish. Friday night got rained out, and I texted Cam. I was sitting in the chair getting ready, and it rains out, and I go, "Now what the hell? What the hell am I gonna do now?" You're like, "Oh, you got ready for it?" You're like, "Oh, I'm ready for this." And it rains out. It's like, okay, what else are we gonna watch?
Go to the
But
local watering hole.
yeah, so Friday night gets rained out, and then Saturday. So we've got potentially three guys that are gonna run the tour in RTJ, JD, and Mikey Marlar coming on tour. Very interesting. Um, Initial reactions to the racing, the elbow, the he's gonna race me he's gonna race me this way, so I'll race him that way. Where are we at? Hard racing or is fair follow? What are we thinking?
So to my disappointment, or I should say to your guys' disappointment and me, I didn't I was kind of on and off with watching the Lucas Oil just because the Rolex was going on. So I
Hmm.
was kind of missing some spots here and there. So I didn't exactly see the supposed nudge that was given. Ooh.
Whoa! For those that are
Um,
for those that are listening, Cam just snapped on his JD 49 hat.
Yowza. So I guess I really got no say in it. But I think you mentioned before that it was a bottom feeders track, and you gotta get that nose in there if you're gonna go anywhere too. And then when them type of cars, it's just like NASCAR. You don't want to see it, but sometimes you gotta use the fenders a little bit. So I guess I really got no say. Racing is racing. But it's got a long year ahead of us. So Cam
Yeah.
seems pretty content as far as where he's standing.
Yeah. I'm not.
You're doubling down.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm standing on business. No, I'm back in JD. I understand it, but I I don't know. I feel like Ricky's got more of the tendency to drive over his head a little bit, and he's got just really good equipment, and then he decides he's just going to drive, over his equipment, and I feel like that was just another instance of that. And he says JD, he's going to race JD how JD raced him, and for the life of me, I like I don't know. I watched a lot of Lucas Oil last year, and I don't think JD maybe I'm
No,
missing something, but I don't think JD was like just a complete pain to RTJ in races and made his life miserable. I don't think that was the case at all. Um, but yeah, the interviews were definitely interesting, and um, I don't know. I don't like the way Ricky went about it and kind
I
of
think me,
rubbed me the wrong way. And it's just like, all right, that's why I'm doubling down. And JD's gonna be. We're coming up on some racing, and you don't want an upset JD. We're about to go on a tear.
now, yeah, and I get it. We're racing for 25 grand. It's no five grand to win show. I mean, that's a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I think the biggest development when I look at it this way, number one, we probably have potentially the best rivalry in dirt super late model racing. You could argue that you have two of your best hammers that are gonna. It's going to get interesting if they both run the series, and it's not like they're just racing once a week. But I think the bigger piece to this is seeing seeing an outright frustrated Davenport. You don't see that very often, and for him to do that this early, um, I just think he potentially is going to make RTJ's life a living hell all year. When RTJ's behind him and RTG's changing grooves, Mr. Stickman might be giving him the, oh, where's RTJ? We're going to go high. We're going to go low. We're not going to run the same line. We're going to slide up the track. We're going to go high to low. I just think Davenport will never outright wreck a race car. He won't do that. I could never see him doing that. But I am going to say he is going to race RTJ to the death. I just think he's going to make his life a living hell all year.
And I think not only that, JD alluded to it last year, where he just like there's been instances like this where he gets a lap car doesn't get out of the way or somebody runs him hard. And I think he alluded to this last year, like he's kind of the old savvy vet. He's been around the block a time or two, and we've got this young wave of, the next generation of drivers, coming in. And he alluded to it last year a couple times in post-race interviews where he said, now I just know the expectation. Guys just throw it in there, run you over, and I'm going to start racing people how they race me. And he never really specifically called anybody out, but now I think he's got a reason to, hey, I'm like you said, he'll never wreck a race car, but
Gloves are off.
you best believe anybody leaves him an ounce to get his nose in there, he's putting it in there and he's gonna, whatever. And I agree. I think he's gonna go on a mission here, and I don't know. The whole RTJ too staying after the race of, if it was anybody else, I would have lifted, but since it's JD, I'm
That's
not
a big
lifting.
comment to make too.
That's a big swing. And
And Mikey Marler riding around in third is going, thank you, because he almost got both of them.
yeah, and Chris Madden was right there too. And RTJ was complaining about JD and Mikey Marler chopping him off and cutting his air off. And why didn't they get parked when I got parked or the one time I did it? Like favoritism. Like anytime you start playing the old victim mentality after you ran somebody over, like, no, I'm not, get out of here. So
So
the
one thing,
bad,
and I'm
I was gonna
go
say
ahead.
the bad news is I'm doubling down on JD. Like so much. Like I just like I think I'm gonna go buy some merch tonight and double down and support him. Um, but no, the shitty part for the year is, I mean, if he has another year like he had last year, it's like the Kansas City Chiefs. You don't want to see him win. Like it's gonna be a long year after what he just pulled off, and I'm like, get out of here. And he goes on another year like he did last year and wins every race he enters. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm
So
done.
what I'm watching the highlights here, trying to see where this nudge happened. I think I just saw it happen, but I think something that's kind of forgotten about, or at least was overlooked, was the RTJ and Mike Marlar slide in 3 and 4. But when Davenport went around them too,
Yep.
Thornton, and I don't know if it was that Marlar came down and kind of nudged him to make him lose his grip or aero tight or whatever it was, but RTJ and Marlar went up that track together with each other.
Yep.
And like you were saying, it was such a bottom feeder track that Davenport just kept on that bottom and just shot right by him then too.
And he's typically that's where I feel like he sets up the majority of his cars. I like I don't think JD's throw it up on the top side and rip the
Yeah.
cushion for 40 laps. I don't think he enjoys doing that, but if he has to, he will. But I don't know if you're talking about nudge racing, but did you see the nudge on the podium?
No, I saw that. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I saw that. And it's like I'm looking at the replay here. RTJ definitely like gets the momentum and does the crossover to get underneath them and kind of I'm assuming this is where Davenport's kind of raising hell. is he kind of not quite comes across his nose, but definitely hits the that left front for sure. Kind of
Kind of,
nudging him up.
yeah, he chopped them a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. So there was 1.2 earlier in that race that JD got by and Thornton and yeah, Thornton kind of hit him in that right rear before he got in to kind of kick him sideways.
Yeah.
Davenport ended up staying the lead for that, but I think those two instances, the one in the rear and the one in the front, was definitely what pissed JD off. So I don't know. I mean, like I was saying, when you get to the bottom feeder track, you're trying to go for the lead. You gotta stick your nose in there.
Yeah.
So
And again, I think as much as it, pissed me off to see Ricky do that and some of the things he said, look, I'm going to just say this. That was night two
of
of
the
the
long
year
season.
of a
Yeah.
long season. So
We got
this can go one of two ways. Old buddies can talk it out and say, "Hey, you're pissed, I'm pissed. You race me like this, you race me like this, and hey, we both have a right to be pissed, but going forward, let's, whatever." Or it can go the total opposite way, and they can both make each other's life a living son of a gun every Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I'm just saying this from the first impressions and interviews, it looks like the latter of the two. It doesn't look like either one of them is willing to concede. And it looks like both of them are willing to stand on their own
Yep.
business and say, hey, I'm not backing down, which, hey, for us, it's going to make the rest of the year just that much better.
It
You
makes me
know, anytime those two are going to get near each other, which is going to be
a lot.
90% of the time, it's in the top five too.
yeah.
Uh, it'll be fun to watch.
Uh gotta like from my standpoint, with not really having a vested interest in either of them guys, and my guy not being in this race, and me just enjoying it for what the race that was, it's pretty damn good for my seat.
Yeah, no kidding.
No matter the outcome.
Yeah, get the popcorn. You're just here for the show.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, kind of.
Um,
Go ahead.
Otherwise, I was gonna say like the again, kind of something that gets swept under the rug because of this whole deal was Chris Madden kind
Yeah,
of sneaking his way into there a little bit.
yeah,
I
World
think
Outlaws guy trying to snag one from the Lucas Oil boys.
Can you imagine him on that podium,
he
knowing that them
said
two have got beef and
he said post race he's seen it all and he wasn't going to comment on it. They asked him about it, what his thoughts were, and he said, "I'm not going to comment on it." He's said he's been there a while, but yeah, what a turnaround for him because I'm pretty sure on Thursday night he pulled off.
yeah,
Um,
yep,
Yeah, he did.
so turnaround for him. We watched him win a Friday night feature at Cedar Lake. So
yep.
um,
Absolutely.
Little outlaw guy, looking good early, but yeah, no, that was
Otherwise, just looking again at Saturday night's race, Ryan Gustin was your hard charger, 18-7. Pretty
Yeah.
damn good haul, but
Yeah. So
him and
yeah, that
sorry, last point I was just gonna say him and that's Gustin. He's first year with his new team, so um, sleek paint scheme too.
yeah
But
might be starting to find something there
yeah,
with Todd Cooney. So
yeah.
yeah, our TJ wraps up that $25,000 payday. Obviously, there's a lot of different storylines that go into that feature. Good hard racing. There's hard racing. I don't know, however you want to say it, phrase it, interpret it, but um, that's gonna get to be must see TV is what it comes down to for the Lucas Oil boys.
We said April 1st was date for Luke's
Yep,
Oil, correct?
yep. So there's a lot of racing to do before guys decide what they truly
Yeah,
want. So
especially as we'll kind of talk about in our preview here. Lucas Oil's got a lot of racing coming up.
yep. So that kind of wraps up Wild Weekend with Lucas Oil. Kind of the other race recap is we'll go ahead and jump into the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona and Van Grill. I'll kick this one to you. You were I was checked in here and there, but you seem to have a pretty good grasp on this one, so I'll kind of let you dive into that one for us.
Yeah, Yeah, so I don't know what it was, but there was a lot of hype coming into this one. Like it felt different coming in. It's always been a big race. It's always been the biggest sports car race in the country, at least in for this type of deal, but this felt big for some reason. And I don't know if that got to the guys because those first 2 or so hours were absolute mayhem. I've never seen so many goddamn cars wrecked in the first 2.5, 3 hours of that race. Them guys were they they were racing like it was the last hour of that one. My God. So I don't know. It was definitely an interesting race. There were a couple of hard hits in that one too, which them wreck harder than I think anything else does, just because they're not meant to wreck. They're not. You don't want them cars to wreck.
They just collapse when
Yeah.
they crunch. They crunch like a pop can almost.
Yep, 100%. 100%. So I'm always intrigued on like the technology that goes into things too, because I mean those are the without those are probably some of the top performing race cars out there.
Yeah.
So it was pretty much a Cadillac and Porsche show as far as the overall goes. Those Cadillacs sounded mean. Wow. They sound like a cup car, kind of. Like them suckers were mean,
Yeah.
but um no, obviously it was very on and off. Weather was fantastic. We had no rain. It wasn't cold or anything like that. So the weather was fantastic. Sounded like it was a record crowd there as well. So like I said, I think that added to the hype of it. I'm hoping I can get to go to that one of these years. So, um, but when it came down to it, like I said, it was pretty much between the Penske Porsches and the let's see, where am I looking? The Wheeling Cadillacs and the Wade Taylor Acura as well. Couple of teams had some issues there in that race. The Wayne Taylor car, uh, which would have been one of the favorites, had some issues early in the race. Actually, late in the race, I should say. The Cadillac as well had some issues into it. Um, so a couple of your favorites had issues going later in the race that took them out. If you're curious, we ran 791 total laps around that track.
Holy hell.
So
Talk about a marathon.
yeah, got that right. So the fastest lap, I'm just doing a kind of a quick page through some of these. The fastest lap was a minute 35 and a half a second
Wow.
was your fastest lap around that track. So when it came down to it, the Penske team ended up winning in the Porsche, their first overall win in the Rolex 24 since 1969. You had Felipe Nassar, Matt Campbell, Joseph Newgarden, and Dane Cameron as the drivers of that one. All first time winners of the Rolex 24 as well. They were getting chased down by Tom Bloomquist, who is a very damn good driver in his own right. So be able to hold him off was fantastic. Newgarden's having himself a hell of a year between the Indy 500 and then now this.
Yeah.
And then Penske too between the Indy 500, NASCAR Cup Championship, and now the Rolex 24.
Yeah.
He's been having
That's
himself a damn good stretch as of late. So otherwise there was a little bit of controversy with this one as well as there was a quick decision on the checkered flag. Basically, they decided to throw the checkered flag like 200 feet before the leader crossed the finish line. Was when it was decided. So IMSA just came out with a statement today that basically it was a officiating error on their part. There should have been another lap in that race to get to the full 24 hours because they only got it was like 23 hours, like 58 minutes and 30 seconds was what the race time ended up being.
Oops.
So there was an officiating error. As far as the results go, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. That Penske Porsche did get to a pretty good gap there before he got to the checkered flag, so it'd been very hard to make that up. Um, but there was a little bit of controversy on it. And again, I think we've said it in the past before, when there is an officiating error, they come out, they rectify, or not rectify it, but they claim the error. They're going to reevaluate the processes, go from there. So they took blame for it, which again, I think that's all we could ever ask for. If something like that happens. So
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I just saw the controversy on. I didn't understand. I don't know enough about that to make a comment as to how that fell to go one way
Basic,
or another. So,
basically, it's the full 24 hours plus a lap in a
okay,
way.
got it. Yep, that makes sense.
Or
Okay,
if the lap is going to get completed with it, like if that when it hit that 24-hour mark, it gets completed that next lap. Basically, that's what it is.
okay. So more time than anything.
Yep.
First,
Basically, it's got to be the 24. It's basically what it is.
okay,
So,
got it.
um, but other than that, I think the coverage of that race, I was watching on Peacock, so I got the continuous coverage of it. I thought it was fantastic. They had some of the NASCAR guys, and they were Steve Lachart, Jeff Burton. Uh, they were both there. They had Matt Snyder, a lot of the commentators, Dylan Welch, um, Hannah Newhouse, who you guys would probably recognize from the Royal Outlaw side of things. She was there as
Yep.
well. Pretty much anybody and everybody was there. I thought the coverage was fantastic. Got to see some of the behind the scenes stuff as well. You want to talk about some souped up pit boxes? Holy cow. There are some
Yeah,
souped boxes in there. They had a feature in there with Wayne Taylor. I think they said they have like 70 monitors, like 700 feet of Ethernet cable. It's spread over two pit boxes. Like it was absolutely asinine what they had.
that's
Talk
crazy.
about technology. So,
Yeah,
um, no, overall, it felt like a great race. There was a little bit of conversation too as far as the NASCAR ownership because NASCAR does own IMSA. Um, so it was kind of a does NASCAR being involved kind of help with the popularity of this? And it definitely has gone up over the years. So I can't say it hasn't. But I think that may have a little bit of influx into it. Um, no, overall, I think it was a great event. Other than the little controversy at the end, no issues. As far as some notable names, obviously a lot of IndyCar guys in there. Jenson Button, Formula One champion. He drove the Garage 56 car as well. I think the really only guy that we got from the NASCAR ranks or even the stock car ranks, Connor Zilisch, an ARCA
yep,
guy. He was about the only guy in there. Otherwise, NASCAR didn't really have a presence this year in there. So a little disappointing, but I'm sure they'll get back in there at some point in time. So
yeah, for
um
sure.
no, for the most part, I mean that was the Rolex 24. We did have a car on fire. So we got that.
Mhm.
Some really hard hits. Yeah, I mean it was a good race. Overall, it was a really good race, so I couldn't complain.
Yeah, and I think, being able to follow along, didn't tune into a ton of it, but um the social media, some of the stuff that you could follow along, the pit crew guys, that one that we put out on our channel, if you're looking for a good follow
Yep,
along,
Bozzy.
was,
Yep.
was actually wild to just follow along and what those guys are going through, like at the track, what they're eating, when they're eating, stuff like that. Like just
When
wild
they
to
get
follow
naps
along.
in. Yep.
Yeah, when they can nap and stuff like that. And then I didn't dig into. I just saw it earlier today. Was the whole um, everybody said that they went from the lap counter said 2 laps to go, and then as they crossed the line, they threw the checkered flag. So
Yep.
um, now we know why they did that, and obviously they came out and said they got it wrong, and
Yep.
um,
Get
whatever.
it right.
At least you're gonna own it, and
Get it
you're gonna
right.
get it right the next time, and
Yep.
whatever. But yeah, I will say too, some of those wrecks, like when those cars go, like I feel like they're just not heavy enough. Like when one spins, it's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
helicopter. Like there's
Yep.
no slowing it down to lessen the blow. It's
Until it hits something. Yeah.
yep. So no, yeah, it was definitely interesting to follow along and just a bruiser, to say the least. So
Like I said, maybe next time I'll have to try and schedule myself to not travel on Monday afterwards so I could actually watch the full 24-hour race. So I didn't
Oh,
hear if Mr. Penske tried to do that again. I know he's notorious for doing the full 24 hours, so I didn't know if he did that this year or not. But either way, I'm sure he's happy to come away with a victory in that race and another Rolex under his belt. So
for
yeah,
sure. So you kind of look at it, those kind of wrap up our two big races, features, if you want to call them that we followed this weekend. So now this is where we're going to kind of jump into looking ahead to talking about NASCAR, our 2024 report cards. So we've each selected three different teams from three different manufacturers, and we're gonna there's a handful of metrics that we are going to look at and dive into and what we expect from these organizations, drivers, lineups, and everything, and kind of forecast what we would expect going into 2024. So we each kind of drew cards for teams, if you want to call it that. We said, you take one, I'll got this one. Is kind of like a snake draft almost. We picked our three organizations to kind of dive into and look at. So man, I mean, I think without further ado, Cam, you want to go ahead and
Yep. You got the
get
share
this
screen
rock and
going?
roll?
Yep.
Yep, we're good to go.
Perfect. I'll get mine booted up here then. All right. So I am going to be doing Legacy Motor Club. I think that got to remember they're switching to Toyota next year. Team Penske out of the Ford camp, and then Trackhouse Racing out of the Chevy camp are the three teams that I'm covering on this one. So I did do some 2023 research as well onto this. So I'll just kind of quickly go through those. So starting with Trackhouse Racing, 2023 interview, they had 3 wins overall, 2 from Chastain, 1 from SVG, obviously at the Chicago Street Course. They had 14 top fives, which that 19% is out of all their starts. So Chastain and Suarez is 36, along with SVG's 2 starts. That's their percentage of top fives out of those starts. And then if top tens, they had 35 percent of their races were in the top 10. Drivers in the playoff, just Chastain, who was eliminated in the round of 12. Drivers in the championship obviously didn't have any. Overall, I gave them a B minus. Not a bad year. Got a few wins under their belt. Was competitive in a few races. Made the playoffs. Solid B minus. Is what I put them at for 2023. So moving on to 2024, I am looking at just Chastain and Suarez as far as kind of stats go, just because they're going to be the ones running the full season. So with that, obviously you got to start with wins. I think they're going to get 3, and I think they're all 3 going to come from Chastain. I think Suarez, his best chances are on the road courses, and it's just I don't see that click as far as being able to finish it off. Top fives, I'm going 12 with Chastain and 5 with Suarez, so I'm giving him 17 top fives. Like I said, I think Chastain's going to be kind of that powerhouse. Suarez, I think he's going to get those couple of them at the road courses, and you'll kind of sneak his way into a couple of other races as well. Top tens, same idea. Chastain 19, Suarez 10. Um, Drivers in the playoffs, I think Chastain is going to be your only driver in the playoffs. I think Suarez is just going to miss out on that points race, and he's going to be eliminated in the round of 8, I think. Make it all the way up to there. I think he's going to get a win in the playoffs that'll help him advance. That's where I'm putting him. So obviously, no drivers in the championship 4. As far as what I'm thinking they're going to do for a grade next year, again, kind of 3 wins, driving the playoffs, get a little bit higher up in the playoffs, a little bit of performance out of both of them guys. Solid B is where I'm putting them at. You know, just solid year, I think is what it comes down to. Still a fairly newer team, so you can't expect a whole lot out of them, but they're gaining ground. They never really start out rough either. So just consistency. I think that's what you're going to see out of them. It's just consistency. So
Quick thought,
moving on. Go ahead.
quick question for you guys. Um, Calling your shot there with Suarez not getting a win. Does that keep him in that seat next year?
I mean, obviously, I don't know what the contract is, but I think you got to take it into consideration.
Kellen?
The seat's hot. I
Yeah.
think I if he doesn't win, I don't know that he's out, but the intensity ratchets up about another 12 levels.
Mm-hmm. I
Yep.
would agree.
It
And I'm trying to remember they have somebody else in their pocketbook as far as driver development. I know SVG obviously, but I forgot there was another one.
Zano,
That's right. Yep.
Zano. They got Zane Smith. They signed Zane Smith.
Well, he's on Spire.
Oh, never mind. Never mind.
There
Never
was
mind.
somebody else. There was somebody else that they kind of had tapped. And god damn it, I don't remember who it was.
Either way, I think
Yeah.
this is hot very quickly.
Yep. So nope. I think Trackhouse Racing, just another solid year. Comes in the fold a little bit. Obviously, that's not including any races that SVG runs or any other tricks they might have up their sleeve next year. So that some of that could be to be determined, but we'll go from there. Next team, I'm gonna hit on the Legacy Motor Club. So obviously they were on the Chevy team last year. They had Jones and Gregson obviously for half of the year before his whole deal went down, and Johnson ran a couple of his races. Obviously, I think it's no secret it was a pretty abysmal year for that team. Only one top five, one top 10, or sorry, seven top tens, no drivers in the playoffs. And yeah, I think overall it's just a pretty abysmal year for them. I think obviously the writing was kind of on the wall with Chevrolet that they were kind of on the move, and who's to say what happened with that whole deal. But nonetheless, they make the switch to Toyota, and Toyota has come out publicly and said that we're going to give them grade A, notebook, advice, equipment, full on shebang. They should be competing with 2311 and Joe Gibbs as far as Toyota Club goes. So, and they're bringing in John Hunter Nemechek up from the Xfinity series. So, uh, got Jones and Xfinity and Hunter as your full-time crew, and Johnson obviously running a part-time schedule as well. So same idea here. I am only looking at Jones and John Hunter Nemechek as far as the stats go. Starting off, obviously the big one with the win. I think they do get one. I think it's going to be with that Jones boy. He'll sneak one in. If I'm going to call my shot as far as the track, I think it's going to be Darlington. He runs good
Bingo.
at Darlington.
He loves that place. Yep.
Yep, he loves that place. So if there's a place that he's going to pull it off, I think it's going to be there. I was thinking about some of the mile and a halves just because Toyota's really good at them, or Richmond, because I know Toyota's really good there. But I think as far as just pure comfortability and newer equipment, I think Darlington's got to be your place for Jones. So top fives, get a handful of them, four of them, three from Jones, one from Nemechek. He'll sneak his way into there a little bit. Top tens, I'm going to give him an 11. Same thing. Jones is kind of get the majority of them, seven. Nemechek will get four. Obviously, I think with it being a new manufacturer, you got a whole new body to go with it. You got a new driver coming in. It's just there's a lot of new in there that you can't necessarily get a A+ season out of it. So obviously with Jones getting a win, he'll get himself in the playoffs, but I think he'll be eliminated in that round of 16. Um, so therefore, no drivers in the championship four. And again, with the amount of new that there is in that team, I think you're just gonna get a C+ season out of it. Obviously it'll be a big improvement. There's just a lot of unknown going into it as well. So I think there'll definitely be a team to keep an eye out for. Um, it'll kind of bounce Richard Petty Motorsports and that legacy club back up to kind of where they want to be. It'll be a build year for them type of thing and build a notebook with each other. So I think that's the other thing with Jones is he having a solidified teammate is going to help build that notebook and kind of communication with them as well. So I think this is them setting up for the long term.
Okay. Question. I'm gonna pose one question.
Okay.
Jimmy's got quite the schedule. Are they setting that team up to add a third car?
Not next year, but the year after.
Okay. Okay.
I would say I agree with that, and I think partially Jimmy being so involved, it's pretty clear that he's still got the itch to get behind the wheel. So I think he's going to do in his part to keep that kind of like a colleague, superstar car,
Yeah.
um, where they bring somebody in to run it. And I think old Jimmy's still got the itch and kind of wants to be
Is this the
still.
first time we're gonna see Jimmy in the Cup Series, not in a Chevrolet?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Who would have thought that we would have come to that point in time?
Wild.
Who would have thought? Because I'm trying to. God damn it! What the hell did he? I think he even ran Chevy in IndyCar. I
I think
think,
he did
yeah.
because he had Carvana with him, didn't he?
Yeah, but God damn it. I think
I
so.
think
I would have to look offhand, but I think he even ran Chevy and IndyCar. So this might be his first time running something other than a Chevy in a
anywhere.
long time. Yeah.
What if he just gets behind a Toyota and he turns back into old championship Jimmy? It just
Oh
starts going
God.
on a
Oh
tear.
God.
Oh man.
We got to
Wow.
remember too that Jones was a TRD guy at one point in time.
Yep.
So,
Yep. That's how he got into the Cup Series of Gibbs.
yep.
Yep.
So I think we got to remember that. So, no, that'll be an interesting deal as well. So, Um, otherwise, finally, we'll move on to the Penske camp, and obviously, I think I've got a little bias when it comes to that. So, your interview, obviously, 4 wins. Blaney had 3, Logano had 1. Top fives, 20 out of 20 top fives, 8 from Blaney, 11 from Logano, 1 from Cindric, 40 top tens, 18 from Blaney, 17 from Logano, 5 from Cindric. Drivers in the playoffs, you have Blaney and Logano. Logano was obviously eliminated in the round of 16, very surprisingly, especially being the defending champ at that time. Drivers in the championship four, obviously, you had Blaney, as he was the champion for 23. I gave him an overall grade of A minus. You have to give him an A minus because you win the championship. I think you win the championship, you get into the A bracket right away. But I think overall performance, I think obviously the Ford struggled last year. So that I think that's why you put him in the A minus bracket versus that A or A plus bracket. So, um, moving on into 2024, obviously there's no driver shakeup, so we're gonna have 3 drivers to play with on this one. Starting out with the wins, I think you're gonna get 6. I think this Ford is gonna help a little bit with them. I think Blaney leads the camp again with 3. Logano will get 2, and Cindric will get a win this year. And I think it's gonna be on a road course. He's not too bad of a driver. I think he's gonna pull it off. Could even be a super speedway for all I know. Them guys work together pretty well on that as well. So,
Oh, time.
top fives, 23. I think Blaine and Logano will kind of split evenly with them. They're going to each get 10. Cindric will get 3. Top tens, they'll get 44. I think, again, Blaney and Logano are pretty even as far as top tens will go. They'll both get 18. Cindric will get 8. So, um, you could kind of throw, I forgot about this part. You kind of throw Wood Brothers in there. They're kind of that de facto fourth car, but we'll leave them on a separate scale. Drivers in the playoffs, I think you're going to get all 3 of them in since they're all going to get their wins early in the season. Cindric will get eliminated in the round of 16. Logano will get eliminated in the round of 12. I am putting Blaney back in the championship for it, but he will not repeat, I will say. So with that, again, get drivers in the playoffs deep, a little bit better year. I think they're just going to stay at that A minus. Overall, have a decent year. Again, having all 3 drivers in the playoffs and one in the championship 4. It's just a solid year, I think. And I think, right, especially again, I mentioned that Penske, they won the Indy 500, Coke 600, NASCAR Championship, ROLEX 24. That Penske camp's on a roll right now. I think it continues on.
All right.
So pretty quick through it, but that's my report card that I got. So I think guys, you'll see some improvement, some consistency, and just kind of staying where they're at. So
All right. That
any
was
questions with Penske before we move on?
No, I was kind of surprised. I thought you'd come out and say, yeah, expectation is to win 32 races this year.
Repeats.
Blaney to win 30.
Well,
I don't
I did come out and say that I don't think Blaney will repeat. It is hard to repeat in the Cup Series,
Yeah,
regardless.
100%.
So obviously, I gotta push for my guy a little bit, but you also got to have some realism into there as well. So I
What'd
think
you
3
give?
is just a solid number.
Would you give Penske?
I gave him an A minus.
A minus. Yep. So you got an A, B,
And
and a C.
Yep,
Yep.
straightforward.
and
Yep.
then the first one was
Trackhouse
Like Trackhouse. Yep.
with a B. Yep. Give him a B. Okay. All right. My turn. I got some interesting ones for you. I'll leave you. You just shot your teams right out there. I'm gonna do this a little differently. Fire this up. Slideshow from beginning.
Let's see.
All right. your 2024 NASCAR report cards from your Jackman for the season. So, um, first one, I had to jump on this one. The Hendrick camp. You got to take the old Chevrolets. Keeping the same body, the same nose, the whole works. It's kind of a why fix it if it's not broken type of situation. I think Chevy said, "Yeah, we're good, boys.
Yep.
We're ready to rock and roll. We got a notebook. We'll be ready." All right. So I kind of took a little bit different avenue, and I kind of lettered these a
Oh,
little
sure.
bit. So here's how you look at it. Expectations for Hendrick is championships, both owner and driver. Um, I think that's the deal. Top tens, there's going to be a lot of them, and I think when you look at my driver tier with Byron, Larson, Bowman, and Elliott, is how I'm going to rank those.
Wow.
Um, Byron and Larson are going to be your flagship Hendrick guys again. I think they've got it figured out. Obviously, Bowman and Elliott had issues last year with missing time and kind of that thing about it. Um, but top tens, they're gonna pile them up. I think they're gonna have a really good year in terms of top tens, top fives. I can see a lot of races being that 6, 7, 8 range for most of the camp, but I think the wins they're gonna lead the way in NASCAR again. I'm gonna call that. I think they're gonna have between their four guys, they're gonna have the most wins across any organization in NASCAR. Um, in terms of the playoffs, they're going to get all four cars in. I'm going to say they're going to get the four in. I think after the season, Mr. H said, "All right, boys, we have one job and one job only, and that's to win a championship." So, I think they're going to come in locked in. I think they're going to be ready to go. Obviously, Larson and Byron had their fair share of that this year, but I think Bowman and Elliott are going to come with a new vengeance, if I want to say it that way, for
Sure.
them. So, I'm going to say they're going to get all four in, and I'm going to call it again. They're going to get Byron and Larson into the final four. I'm going to say that, and I'm not going to call it champ, but I'm going to say those two are going to be racing for a title again at the end of the year. So, I tiered my drivers, and it's kind of an interesting to think about it a little bit. Byron's going to lead the way this year. I think Byron, Larson, Bowman, and Elliott are going to be here for it. Hendrick. And I'm going to say in terms of the team ranking themselves, they're going to be in the top two. So they're going to be the flagship for both for Chevy, but also for NASCAR too. And just they're going to be so competitive everywhere they go. Overall grade, I'm calling a champ, but I'm calling A plus. So I'm calling it right now. They're gonna get both titles. That's their expectation. Driver and owner titles. Hendrick sweeps it. They have one job, and that's to win titles.
Setting the
So
bar high.
that's where I'm going with the Hendrick camp and the Chevys. So I feel like that one was pretty easy for me. The next two are going to be a little debatable here.
Before you go back to,
Yep.
yep, go to that one. I do have a follow-up question
Yep.
with that.
Yep.
Um, does Bowman and Elliott get into the playoffs with wins?
I'm going to say Bowman, yes. Elliott's going to point in. Maybe gets one done at a road course.
Sure.
But I'm going to say three of them are going to lock in. Uh, I'm thinking Bowman's going to show up this year.
Okay.
So I'm going to say
I think
Elliott
he's due.
potentially, but I'm going to say if anything, he's going to point his way in.
Bowman's going to
So
strut his stuff again of why he belongs there.
correct. Yep. I think he's going to come back and prove he's a Cup Series guy for good.
Yep.
So
I'm going
that's
there
where
all
I'm at.
getting, I'm going there
What?
all getting in and they're all getting wins.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I'm 3 of 4 for sure with one point in. So yeah, for sure. So next up, 2311. This one's a little different dynamic in terms of how I kind of looked at 2311 for this. So my expectations for them is they're going to have a car in the final four. Um, top tens, they're going to have some, not as many, I would say. Top fives, they'll be there. Um, Wins, I'm gonna say they're gonna win 3 races. If I had to give it a number, I'll give that B minus. I'll give it 3 races. I'm gonna say 2 from Reddick and 1 from Bubba. I'm gonna call that both of them are gonna get into the playoffs, so they're both gonna win their way in. Um, and if I'm gonna say between the two of them, I'm gonna take Reddick to get to that final four. I think they need to have that this year. 23XI's been together now for a little while. Um, I kind of made this slide red for that particular reason, is I think we got to start to ante up this program a little bit. You know, they've started to find wins, they've started to find some speed, but now it's championship time. You're racing for Michael Jordan. All he wants to do is win titles.
Yep.
That is the end goal here. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that Reddick's gonna lead the charge with this program. He's gonna be their flagship guy. And then their team ranking, I'm gonna give them that 4 to 8 range. I don't I don't know that they're Joe Gibbs yet. I don't know that they can beat Joe Gibbs yet. I, they're going to perform better than they did last year. I just don't see them fully breaking out yet. And especially with that change in the body as well for Toyota. So
Hmm.
kind of another wrinkle to it. I'm going to give them that 4 to 8 range is where they kind of fall as a team or organization, I would say. So all in told, I'm going to give them a B. They're they're going to be there. They're going to be there. They're going to be consistently competitive, but I just don't know that they fully break out and put their foot down and say we're on the scene. So, any
I
questions
can
in terms of
I
2011?
I pretty much agree with you. I think it kind of interesting. I don't know if you want to follow up with that. Do you feel like they're not going to be consistent in the finish, but they're going to have their sporadic like good finishes type of
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. I could see them stringing together 2 or 3 races or 4 races at a time, and then struggling for 1 or 2, and then finding that pace again.
Sure.
Um,
I
I just don't see them consistently being from win to six.
sure.
Now, top tens, I could see them 7, 8, 9 range. Um, if Reddit can keep it out of the wall at some of these tracks, he loves to be up there.
Yep.
But yeah, that's where I think I would agree. It's not going to be consistently lights out, but I could see him showing up and potentially dominating a couple tracks.
I think the
So
other thing too is Hamlin made a comment of we're going to win a championship in X amount of years. I forget what that number was, but I think it's getting close.
that's why these are red, man. We gotta between Hamlin and Jordan, like it's getting to be time. Like we're not figuring this out anymore. We
Time to
gotta have
execute.
it's time to have a guy in the final four racing for a title. So and I think Reddick takes that step for them. So I think Bubba will get into the playoffs, but I think he'll struggle a little bit in the playoffs. So that's what I'm saying. Reddick would be final four. Um, if I had to make a prediction. So overall grade for 23XI B, as we talked. So next one, Stewart Haas Racing. They're just a bunch of racers. Um, man, am I excited for this one. I think you guys are going to be surprised. Um, New look, new drivers, new body. It's it feels new. It feels energetic at Stewart Haas. Here we go. I'm going back on my statement from last week already. A little controversy here. They're going to have 2 cars in the playoffs. They're going to get 1 car to the round of 8. um, Top tens. Yeah, I think they're gonna put a bunch together. Um, Top fives, a few less wins. Uh, I could see them winning 2 races. I think 2. I feel pretty good about 2 of 1 being a restrictor plate track. So, um, the 3 that are going to get in are going to be Barry, Gregson, and Briscoe. Hot take. I got those 3 guys getting into the playoffs. Uh, all three are going to win and in. You guys are looking at me funny, but I think all three of them are going to win to get in. Drivers in the final four, I don't think so. I think round 8 is where they struggle. The driver tier, again, honestly, I got Barry leading the charge. I got Barry, Briscoe, Gregson, and Priest. And that's how they're going to fall in terms of the order over at Stewart-Haas. The team ranking kind of the same as 23-11. I think they're going to be much, much better than last year. And Smoke made it very apparent that last year was fairly unacceptable. I think they're going to show up. So I give them that 4 to 8 range. They're going to be competitive. Maybe not the wins they need, but some newfound life over at SHR. All in told, after last season, B plus.
Damn.
I'm giving them a B plus. I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling the newness. I'm feeling the vibe. I think it's just a significant changing of the guard with Al Mirola and Harvick not being there. I think it's a new look. It's a new set of eyes. It's a different angle. I just think it's going to be a different year for them, and I think they're going to surprise people. So, that's kind of my look on SHR. So, I'm I'm excited for the young guys, and especially in Barry. He's one that really intrigues me in terms of what he can do for a full year with a consistent team and building a notebook with that organization. So
I was dealing with some technical difficulties on my end, so I missed part of it, but I got the gist of it.
yep,
I could definitely I can agree with you on the Barry portion, just because one, he's gonna have Richard Childress on his side, and it's been very well documented that it's almost like there's no change with Barry coming in to replace Harvick on
yep,
how that team kind of operates.
yep.
So
So
I'm
yeah,
gonna be that's a bold prediction to go to a B plus. I don't know if they're gonna get that high, but if they do, kudos.
so I'm calling the B plus.
All right.
And then I got a little bit of bonus content for you guys. I got a little Jackman special for this one. All right. So I kind of gave you my wrap in terms of my grades that I gave my organizations. And I even went about and I tiered my drivers in 3 different groupings. So when I looked at these 3 organizations, my tier 1 drivers are Byron Larson and Reddick. My tier 2 drivers, I got Bubba, Chase Elliott, Josh Berry, Noah Gragson, and then my tier 3, I got Briscoe, Priest, and Bowman. So,
So how is it different with Elliott and Bowman? Because you had
so yep. So Bowman was the last one into the tier 2, and I went back and forth. I think Elliott's going to be consistently faster, but Bowman I think will have a better shot to win a race or 2 more than Elliott.
so you're kind of going
I,
more consistency.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
I think Elliott's your steady Eddie. Bowman's your swing for the fence.
I could
Like
agree with that.
Yep. That's kind of how I looked at it. And it's counterintuitive to what I just said, but I I think Bowman's going to get it done. He's going to be the one that they're going to make a strategy move, and it's going to potentially win him a race or 2 more than Elliott. Where Elliott, after having to try to point his way in last year, is going to say, you know what? We're going to take the stage point. We're going to score 7. We're going to score 6.
Yep.
Where Bowman might just flip the script and go, let's go. Let's just go win this thing. So that's where there's a little deciphering here in terms of that, because that's kind of where I went in terms of tiering the drivers that I looked at. So yeah, that's kind of where I fell with my 3 organizations.
all right, you guys ready for the finale?
Fire them up.
I don't think you guys are quite ready for this.
Oh God.
All right, let's get this. Suppose I should share the old screen here.
That'd be helpful.
All right. All right.
Is there a reason why expectations or cards is upside down?
Yeah, because this year is gonna be fucking crazy. Oops. Oops.
Hey, we're gonna do PG-13. You're allowed one of them.
Yep. Yeah, no. It's gonna be a wild year. Stuff's gonna be all over the place. And buckle up. So, three teams I had was JGR, Joe Gibbs. I got RFK, and then I got an intriguing Spire Motorsports. So, without further ado, let's jump right in. All right, Joe Gibbs Racing. So you got your drivers up top there: Gibbs, Bell, Truex Jr., and Denny Hamlin. Top tens between the four of them: 92. Top fives: 51. 9 wins on the year for JGR. Everybody's winning already. So
Yikes.
so so we got 9 wins. Um, Four drivers in the playoffs, and I'm going to go as far as to say they're going to get two in the final four. So I'm pretty optimistic on JGR heading into this year. I mean, I think you just look at Christopher Bell, MTJ, and Denny Hamlin. Between those three, um, you can see, you know, Denny Hamlin getting 3 wins throughout the year, MTJ 3, you're at 6. I can see C Bell getting 2, and I'm going to go on a limb and say Ty Gibbs is going to get a win this coming year.
I could agree with that one.
He showed last year he can run up front with the big boys, and I thought did a pretty damn good job for being a rookie. So, um,
So you're calling your
yeah,
shots, all four are winning in.
I think so.
Okay.
I
All
think
right.
all four will get in. I think Gibbs Gibbs will be around a 16 or 12. Um, and then to be honest, I mean, this is where I think the driver comes from the 9 wins. I mean, this is Christopher Bell, MTJ, and Denny Hamlin. I mean, those are three horses. Um, and I mean, throughout 36 races, I could see each of them getting 3. I don't know. I could see Denny getting 4. Um, but probably not when it counts. And so then I was thinking, I'm like, um,
Wow.
the other
Wow.
thing I was thinking was, two drivers in the final four, and I'm like, well, this was my first initial thought was we could have just a JGR and a Hendrick Motorsports final four going at it. Um, this could be the year a little 2v2. So that might be one of my predictions. But overall grade, I gave them an A minus. Again, I think they're going to be up there in wins. This team is trending in the right direction. Denny and Truex are the savvy vets, um, guiding along the young stallions, Ty Gibbs and C Bell, and I think just a good mix. And I think by these standards and these numbers, it would be an A minus here. Um, I think you're looking at A plus if obviously they get the championship, but I think they're going to put 2 cars in the final four, and that's where the A minus comes in from.
2 questions. You can only answer with yes or no. Is this Martin Truex's final season?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say yes.
Does Danny Hamlin win a title?
No.
No.
Okay. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna ask a question, but I think you just answered it. So
So
I'm
yeah,
going to agree. Truex is going to go out on his final year. It's going to be his year. He's going to quietly announce it mid-season when he's happy. He's
yep.
going to quietly do his piece.
He's gonna say it when he wants to.
Yep. And I'm also going to agree that Denny Hamlin does not get it done again this year.
yeah, and I think that was another thing. Martin Truex Jr., I think he'll go on another, not tear, but he'll have another solid year, knowing it's his last. I think it's going to be his last year. So I think he'll have another good year. You can always throw Denny in for beating your favorite driver a couple times throughout the year. Um, I
An all-time statement.
Yeah, so I can see him getting, 2 or 3 wins. Christopher Bell is coming on strong. Obviously a Final Four car last year, so he's obviously shown he can get it done. And then I think Ty Gibbs is going to sprinkle it in. or be a cherry on top, and he'll throw his name into the mix a little bit more and show that he is not just a grandkid who doesn't deserve a ride. So I think he'll have a good year. So
Before we move on, I'll pose a question out here, and I will kind of make this a yes or no. Does Joe Gibbs have the most solidified team out there?
Yes.
yes, yep.
Top
All
to
right,
bottom. You're
top to
saying,
bottom.
yeah, it was when I put Hendrick in there, when I said top two, it's them and Gibbs were my top two.
All right, that's all I
And
got.
these guys don't do weekday racings where weekday open wheel racing where they get injured. So these guys are going to be there for all 36 races. Um,
I'm guessing Hendrick ain't doing that this year either.
true, true. Yeah, good
Yeah,
call.
I
yeah.
take I take that back. Larson's doing high limit.
He's doing some of the high limit stuff. Yeah.
So yeah, A minus for Joe Gibbs. I think they're going to get 9 wins.
Okay.
You can mix and match. The only thing I'll throw out there is I think Ty Gibbs will get 1 win. So you can between the other three, you can mix and match where you think 8 wins will come from.
Sure.
Fair enough.
So
All right.
next, let's get into old Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing. Don't know where that. Didn't know that was going to slide in like that, but perfect. So drivers, obviously you got Brad K in owner, and you got Chris Buescher. Top tens, I'm gonna go 43. Top fives, 31. I'm gonna say they're gonna get 4 wins this year. I say they're gonna put 2 drivers into the playoffs, both of them, and they're not gonna get one into the final four.
Okay.
I will say the 3 wins this year, I'm counting Brad K to get 2. Bold prediction.
Damn. All
So
right.
you're saying 2 and 2.
I'm saying Brad K gets at least 2.
Okay.
Could be a reverse. So I mean, Chris Buescher won 3 races himself last year. This was kind of, I felt like last year was RFK's, coming out year and basically telling the world, hey, we're here to play. Um, so I think they're going to build on that. I think they'll get one more win than they did last year. But also, I think Brad K has been pounding the stone for this team and getting things figured out. And I think this will be the year where I think he'll get 2 wins, potentially 3. I do think, as optimistic as I am on the wins, I don't foresee them putting anybody in the final four. I would see a Brad K. I would say Brad K or Buescher, similar to last year, around a 12 and around a 8. Where they put somebody into the round of 8 again and they're on the fringe. Probably a round of 8, have to win to get into the final four. And I just don't quite see that getting done. So overall, for RFK standards, I gave them a B plus. I think this will be, if they pull this off, and what my expectations are is getting 4 wins. I think that'll be a really good year for them by their standards, and be able to I think they'll put both cars in the playoffs, and I think they'll both make a push, but just not quite cracking the final four.
So I'm going to kind of paraphrase what you just gave us in numbers. What I'm hearing is they're going to run better than last year, but they're not going to fully break out in terms of championship contenders.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you're
Yep.
running, positions 1 to 10, I think they'll be steadily in that, 4 to 10 range.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that's the best way. I think last year, obviously, they showed they've got speed wherever they show up now. Restrictor plate, mile and a half. For God's sakes, when you get on a restrictor plate, Brad K drives with a snowplow on his front end. And then you go to a mile and a half like Michigan, and Buescher had a rocket. So
Okay.
they really are getting their team really did take a step in the right direction last year, and I'm looking for them to build on it and take another small step in the right direction, get another win, and get old Brad K back in victory lane. It's been a while since we've got a victory lane interview from old Brad K. So
I will definitely be happy with that. I agree with everything that you got. I'm even going to kind of circle back to our discussion last week that we had about our hot takes, and I threw out the question out there of is RFK going to get a car in the championship four? Cam, you are consistent with your statement. You said no. Kellen, you said yes.
Yep.
So just throwing that out there.
Yep. I said Brad K. Yep.
And honestly, if it is Brad K, I'd be happy for him.
I would be as I
The
would be as
guys could have been content and rode off with Penske and had a solid car and done the deal and won races, but no, he put himself out there, went on a limb, became owner and doing the deal. So no, I'd be happy for Brad K if he could do that. So
RFK is kind of turning like obviously I'm a Blaney fan at heart, but if there's a team that if there's a driver that wins out of it that I'm not disappointed, it's probably RFK.
I would
yep.
agree.
So overall, for RFK, I'm giving him a B plus. I'd give him a minus on logo. That RFK is just sick. So A minus on the logo. So last one I got, the old Spire Motorsports.
Oh,
Wow.
So I'm optimistic. So Spire obviously got the old penny thoughts, Corey LaJoy. Then they're bringing on the young guns, Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar. I'm going to say between the three of them, they'll get 21 top tens. I'm going to say they're going to get 7 top fives. And I will say my boldest and most optimistic prediction out of this report card is that Spire is going to get a win, which therefore leads them to one driver in the playoffs. I think they're only going to get one in. And then I think obviously no drivers in the final four. Well, I shouldn't say obviously, that's disrespectful, but they're not going to put somebody in the final four. And by their standards, I'm giving them an overall an A plus grade.
So it's
okay.
kind of they're going above and
So
beyond what they're kind of expecting.
I think them getting a win this year puts them an A plus for their team. Not by compared to Hendrick or JGR, RFK, or RCR. I think by Spire Motorsports, I think if they get a win, I think it's an A plus year for them. And I think they're going to get a win. I mean, shit, they were close. I think it was Atlanta when LaJoy was on the top side there and ended up wrecking himself. So they're getting close. I will say one of the things that is going to be holding back is this is a team that is the future. Obviously, you got Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar who are going to be rookies. Who I think Zane Smith will be the better of the between those two. I do think it's going to be LaJoy getting the win. And I think you throw Zane Smith will be in um, that 15 to 19 range in the points, and you could throw Hocevar in there too, a fringe playoff guy. It's got a battle to get in, but that's where I think it's going to come from. So overall, I think by their standards, it's going to be an A plus. I'm going to go out and say I think Corey LaJoy will get a win, and for their standards, this will be an A plus year if they get a win.
Okay.
All right.
Oh,
I am obviously you guys have picked me a little bit of this as well. I'm a tad bit of a LaJoy fan, so if he does get that win, I would not be disappointed with that as well. So
Yeah, I figured you would be. Um, when I threw that up there, I'm like, yep. If Van Grohl was mad at me for anything recently, he's not going to be when I throw this up there.
I
So,
don't know. I'm still a little salty about some of your trivia questions that you threw out there.
yeah. So, no, I think Spire will get a win, and like I said, they're kind of a team that I think will be. It's not going to be. They understand there's going to be a lot of growing pains with Zane Smith and Carson Hocevar, but obviously both of them have had time in the Cup Series. They both have ran a fair amount of races in the next gen car, so it's not like they're going to be starting. You know, these aren't these guys' first time
Yeah.
in these cars, but for 36 races, I think, and the having to race it every week and the different tracks that you're going to, I think it'll be a steep learning curve for those two, but I think they'll have a solid year.
So obviously, there's a lot of teams out there too that we didn't cover: RCR, Colleague, JTG, Front Row, Wood Brothers, Rick Ware Racing as well. Obviously, I think RCR is going to have another great year as well. Be interesting what they can do. I think Kyle Busch is obviously going to be the guy to keep an eye out for on that one. Throwing this out there, Cam, I think I know your answer pretty much. I think you're going to go with Spire as your answer, but I'm going to pose the question: who's going to be the most improved team, and who's going to be the disappointing team on the year?
Most improved. I could agree with Spire just because other programs we've hit on have shown that they can do it. So I'm going to say Spire. And I'm
Okay.
going to say struggle. Well, Wood Brothers, I'm going to say a struggle with Burton.
Sure.
So, yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
I am sorry. Go ahead, Van Gro.
No, I agree with Spire. I think they're going to be the improvement team on the year. I'm between JTG and Colleague as far as disappointment teams. I almost
Yep.
want to go JTG just because they're not going to get that win, I think.
Yep. I'd agree.
I'm gonna say for most improved, I'm gonna say it's gonna be Legacy. I think they're putting together a good camp, and shit, you can't tell me that they're not going to be most improved when they got a Slinger national champ that's involved in that team weekly. Got Matt Kenseth,
Oh, that's right.
got his hand in the
I
team.
forgot about that.
So between Kenseth, Jimmy
Forgot about
Johnson,
that.
John Hunter's shown he can do it. He's a winner himself. And I think Eric Jones is he's Eric Jones. I think this has got to be a big year for him. He's always been like that 15 to 18. So I think they're starting to get, hey, here's the foundation of this team. So I think they're going to be the breakout or the most improved. And I will, not out of spite, but I'm going to just go out there and say the most disappointing team is going to be Colleague. I think their standards, expectations, like, I don't know. They announced today that Josh Williams is going to run a handful of cup races for him. I'm sorry, but I just don't see him stepping in there and wheeling and dealing.
Yeah.
Obviously, they demoted AJ Allmendinger to the Xfinity Series. It's going to be Daniel Hemrick's first year. I think he'll have an okay year, but yeah, I don't know if that's a little bit of bitterness coming in, but I just don't quite see it coming from Colleague. I guess I would say, I thought they're a 1 or 2 win team, and I thought their best chance was the guy they demoted.
Sure.
Could be
Yep.
totally wrong, but I thought they demoted their best chance to win Sunday. So,
All right. So mid-season, we'll resurface this video and or this episode, and we will
right,
reconvene it. Mid-season.
right before the Coke 600, I think Coke 600 is like the halfway point. So right before Memorial Day, mid-May.
Do a mid-season check-in, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll
See where we're
rewind this.
at. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we'll kind of jump into a few race previews here as we go. So Cam, I'll go ahead and kick it over to you for Lucas Oil.
Kicking it over to the dirt specialist.
Yes, sir.
So hopping right in, we touched on it. A lot of storylines coming in for Lucas Oil. Great first weekend of racing for them. And if you don't have Flow, we should really get a sponsorship from Flow as much as we plug their business. You got the next 13 days. You got 10 races across 13 days. They're practicing tonight. They're practicing, I think, until the end of February, basically. Um, Not quite, but like February 10th. So you got 10 races coming up in the next 13 days. Two at Bubba Raceway Park, two at All Tech Raceway, and then six straight at the final year for East Bay Raceway Park. So um, again, if you don't have flow racing, these 10 races in the next 13 days, well worth the investment. And if you've done some quick math between what's coming up, Chili Bowl, the Dome, yeah, you're money ahead. So yeah, no, I'm really looking forward to Lucas Oil. Obviously, the storylines coming in is going to be JD and RTJ. What happens? How do they race each other? And just looking forward to some good racing. So hopefully the tracks are well or prep pretty well, and I think we're going to be in for just some awesome late model racing. So
Sweet. Yeah, so tune in lots of racing in the next couple of days. Kind of got one more big preview for this weekend. Van Grill, you want to rip the clash?
Yeah, obviously, preseason NASCAR, we're getting them guys warmed back up again. I think we're all
fired up.
super excited. Obviously, I think NASCAR is our bread and butter, obviously. So I think we're all super excited about that. So, um, there was a big conversation earlier about not having Saturday opens the fans, and they made up for it by having Saturday open for everybody. The NASCAR Mexico Series is going to be racing there as well. They're going to have a 150 lap race there. You're going to have your qualifiers and your last chance qualifiers, I believe, on Saturday as well before the feature race on Sunday. Um, Last year, Priest led the most laps. Amarola was on the pole. MTJ was your winner of that one, and obviously Joe Logano was your inaugural winner of that. Uh, no, it's a good race. It's a unique race as well because it's one of the only ones that does your last chance qualifiers and your heat races, and it gets the dirt format into play with this as well. So I think it's a good preseason race. Not quite ready to have this as a regular season race, but I think it's a good preseason, and especially in LA, it gets a whole new crowd there for this one as well. So if you're looking for your NASCAR fix, well, it's finally here. You got it coming up this weekend as well. So be sure to tune in. 23 cars are going to start this race. So again, that's where those heat races and qualifiers come in as well. So
Race picks, go.
well, Cam, you're first. We're going off of fantasy results of last year. Since you were last, you get to go first.
Um, Off the cuff gut pick, Christopher Bell.
Ooh,
Okay. Uh, I am gonna go Kyle Busch.
No shot. No shot.
He finished third last year, and he also qualified second overall. So
Kel, who you got?
I'm gonna take the guy that's got more on his plate than anybody, Larson.
all right.
I will say there's been a lot of debate, thrown around. Should the Clash be kept at LA? Should they move it? Daytona, whatever. But I actually just love this format. I love like it brings the short track scene into heat racing, qualifiers and LCQ, last chance qualifier. I love this format.
It sends guys home. Heat races are worth so much more.
We should sprinkle a couple
You
more of
don't
these.
you don't get a part just you don't get to just participate because you're a NASCAR guy. This is
Yep. You got to earn it.
it's not a marquee event, but it kind of is. Like you got to race your way in, like everywhere else does at your local short tracks.
Yep. I
So
love the format of it. I've said it before where I'm not a huge fan of NASCAR racing on uh built racetracks. I'd rather be on a purpose built racetrack. So I'm gonna stand behind that and say it could be moved, but I get why they do it as well by keeping it in LA because you get the fans from there as well. So that's why it's if you're gonna do it, keep it as the Clash. Leave it at that.
yep. So, kind of going off of that, breaking news out of NASCAR this week, they decided to change their schedule. Just kidding. That's what we're doing next week. We are gonna bring you guys what we rework is our optimal schedule. So you're gonna get three different renditions of this whole deal. So, um, be prepared to be confused, agreed, disagreed. That one's going to be good where we're going to give you the ideal schedule from regular season to playoffs to what we feel is what should be the NASCAR schedule.
So I want to throw this one criteria out there just because I know we've done, come in blind basically. Are we doing what's on the current schedule or can we introduce tracks?
Oh,
Well, I'd have like six, the Dells, Madison,
yeah.
Slinger. No, I think we have
Hell,
to do. I think we have to do use 2024 tracks to set your schedule.
okay. So that keeps out Road America. We'll stick with that. That's the main reason I asked. So
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
I think we just have to operate with the tracks we've been handed.
Okay. I could
So,
work with that.
so yeah, that'll be interesting. That'd be a good one to kind of see how you want to travel the country from week to week and do all that. So that'll be a good one. So stay tuned for that. We'll bring you the new schedules. But as we kind of wrap this up, as always, anybody that gives us a listen or a like or watches us on YouTube, we appreciate it. If you always have ideas, let us know. We're working our tails off to get this. We've got some cool ideas. We're working on some things. Um, Let us know if there's something that we want us to bring you. We're more than happy to make that fit, whether it be in comments or shooting us interactions on social media or any of those direct messages. Um, always let us know. We're happy to bring whatever we can to even enlighten different series of things that we may not cover. So, um,
I was gonna chime in and say two things. I think obviously staying tuned to the channel as it's January here. Once we get into April and some of the local tracks get going in Wisconsin for the icebreaker and stuff like that, and then early spring you get a handful of World Outlaw races in the Midwest that we're gonna try to hit up. So if you're growing impatient with some of the racing content we try to put out, um, stick with us, hang in there, trust us. We're going to bring you some good stuff. And then I will say the other thing too that we've started to put an emphasis on and doing better, and we're had fun kind of in the first week of trying to do it is be active, more active on the socials and interacting with you guys, tweeting about whatever race is going on, whatever's trending on Twitter, um, put more stuff out on Instagram, TikTok. Um, we're trying to grow in that space and obviously have more fan interaction. So if you haven't followed our socials, feel free to give them a follow, throw shade at us, ask us questions, interact with us, whatever you want to do to us. We're here for it. We just want to
Heck
talk
yeah.
racing.
so yeah,
Keep an eye out too. There may be some fantasy things as well that may
yeah,
come out. So
yep, yeah. So be on the lookout for all of the greatness, especially with the NASCAR season starting to get going here. So lots of tape.
That one note though, if you do dare enter the fantasy league with us, you must understand this ain't for the faint of heart. This is a 36 week grind. We don't want anybody that's going to be in it for the Daytona 500 and drop out. No,
yep.
this is a
It's a full
36
season
week.
commit.
This is a 36-week verbal commitment to verbal abuse. So
we'll be sure to once we get those set up here. Obviously, the Clash is not a part of that, but we'll
Yep.
have those set up prior to the Daytona so that we will leave that open for you guys to insert yourself into the fun, if you want to call it that. So be on the lookout for those. Um, Obviously, another great, awesome episode, kind of scratching the itch on the NASCAR side this week for the biggest part of it. So stay tuned to all of our socials. Keep up with the channel, and where we're going to bring you guys some pretty cool stuff. So, um, As always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you all next week for the new NASCAR schedule we'll be bringing you guys. See you next week.